Hello everyone, my name is Mahdi Arfanian and today I'm going to present Needle. Needle is the open source image retrieval database that we have presented in our paper, and we are open sourcing it for public to use it, and we hope that everyone can use Needle for their image retrieval tasks. Needle is very fast, it's efficient, it's precise, and it outperformed, the OpenAI clip and lots of other benchmarks. You can read all of them in our paper. And today, what we are going to do in this video is to take a look at the Needle architecture very briefly. We are not going into the details of implementation and all those stuff, but just to see how Needle actually works. Then we are going to install Needle. Then we are going to configure it. If we are going to discuss the different configuration that Needle supports. And also, we are going to do some experiments. We are going to have some queries run on Needle and see everything. So, without further ado, let's get started. I hope you enjoy working with Needle. Please start the GitHub repository, and also if you had any issues, you can just create the issue. If you have any development concerns or you have a pull request, please let us know. And take a look at the Needle's webpage as well. We have the See Needle in Action chapter. You can see how actually Needle works. We have lots of experiments here, so you can see how Needle can handle complex natural language queries. We have the comparison to state of our methods. You can see the user studies. You can see the different benchmarks. And we are going to start by talking a little about the architecture of Needle and how actually Needle works. All right, this is the architecture of Needle. So in the pre-processing step, what Needle does is actually it uses a set of embedders that is different based on the performance that you require, and try to just embed these images, the input images, as embeddings and storing them in index store. There are lots of complexities and details in the implementation of these, lots of parallelism to enhance the performance, but we are going to just skip those for now. During the inference is what actually where the magic happens. So when you enter a query, what it does is contact some foundation models that you will configure, and using those, it will generate some guide images. We call these guide images because they are guiding the inference process toward what we are looking for. So the novel idea here is that we can actually represent the queries using images, and then use those images to find what we need. Then we are, just converting those guide images using embedders, and we are doing a KNN lookup in our index store. Then we are doing some ranking here, and we aggregate them based on the trust that we have in each embedded results, and then we are returning the ranking. Okay, let's get started with the installation of Needle. Take note that we have two important prerequisites before installation: Docker and Docker Compose. We need Docker for containerizing our services, and also Docker Compose for orchestrating them, and they can actually work together. So please install these. You can follow these links, and also please make sure that your account is added to the Docker group, so you can run Docker without sudo permission. So if I just call here Docker PS, then I can see that it actually works. It doesn't complain about not having any permission or something like that. And Needle is currently supported on Linux and macOS. We are working on adding the support for Windows as well. So after installing those two prerequisites that are already installed in lots of our systems, what we can do is just use this one-liner command to install Needle. Okay. When I call this command, it actually runs the installation script, and as you can see, it checks for the Docker and Docker Compose, and then it checks for Docker GPU access, that if your Docker has the access to your GPU, usually it does, it should work out of the box, but if it doesn't and complain about that, and you need Needle to have GPU access, then you can just look for it in Google, and there are lots of tutorials on how to do that. Okay, after that, you have to choose your preferred database. This is, do you want Needle to focus on low latency and fast indexing, or do Do you want it to be balanced or accurate? So for the sake of this installation process, I'm going to go with fast. The difference in these three options is the number of embedders that Needle use and the type of embedders that it uses. So I'm going to just go with fast here. Then it will download and all the configuration that you need for that fast node, and then we are done with installation. Pretty easy and straightforward. So next, what we have to do is to make sure that we have some environment variables like needle home set. And by default, when you install it, you have to log out or log in, or just restart your shell, or you can source the bash RC file in Linux and source the VSH RC file in macOS. So I've sourced that, and the needle home is set, the configuration is set, and we have the needle CTL accessible here. So let's go and just see the help command for needle CTL. Okay, this is the documentation for the needle command line tool called needle CTL. So what it actually does is it connects to the needle backend service and performs a task that you need for you. So it's a wrapper around needle that helps you to work with the needle core. And as you can see, it supports 4 general options here. And as you can see here in the options in the help command, and one of them is API URL. So if you have needle backend running on another port, or you have on the server or anything, you can just pass the API URL. So it will just use that backend. So if you have multiple instances of needle, you can just use only one needle CTL and connect to all of them. It also supports output, which is the output format for your command. So you can have the human readable version that is by default. Also, it supports JSON and YAML. For example, if you need to pipe needle through some other application, you want to retrieve some images and do some other post-processing on it, then you can just get the JSON or YAML. And also, as you can see, we have the version that shows the backend version and the needle CTL version. We have the install completion command that will actually help you a lot in working with needle CTL, because it will help you to auto-complete command. So I'm going to just go with the install completion. All right. We have to just log out and log in for this to work, or we can just again source the bash RC file. All right, we have the show completion that actually shows you the configuration for your shell, and also we have these commands. Before being able to work with needle, what we have to do is to start the needle service. So right now we have to call needle CTL service start, and this will start all of the needle services. If it's the first time that you're running needle, it needs to pull some images, and it needs to download some weights, and it might take some time. But after a while, it will just cache them, and when you stop and start your needle service, it will be very fast. So we're going to wait here until it starts the needle service. All right, while we're here, you can check the documentation. So we have these 4 services, 4 components in the needle CTL, and then after each needle CTL command, you have to specify the component that you are working for, and then the action. So that's how needle CTL CLI works. So we have the service command, which actually has all of the service related stuff in that. So for example, you can start the service. We have started that, restarting, stopping, viewing the logs, or upgrading your needle to the latest available version. Also, we have the directory command, which you can add some image directories, you can remove them, and also you can when you add some, it shows you the indexing process, because it's a time consuming part of the needle. We have the query command that actually can use to run some queries or see the logs of your queries, the history, and all of this stuff. Also, you can configure some default values for your queries. And also the generator command, which actually is adjusting and configuring the foundation models that you're using. If you remember from the architecture, we need some foundation models to generate images for us. So that's what generator is. So let's go to the service command. You can see all the actions that service command supports here, and the example and what it does here. So we have the start, stop, restart, status, log, config, and also we have the upgrade. Okay, now we are done with the starting the service. So we have the needle running, and we can just check that. So first we are going to see what version of needle we're running. So we are on the 0.4.3 on the backend, and also 2.8 on the needle CTL version. When we actually upgrade any service, it will pull both of these and update both of these services. And also we can check the needle.ctl service status to see, okay, we are running and everything looks fine. And also we can check the log command that actually shows the needle debug and log that we have. So we have these different embedders configured. We are using CUDA and lots of these other configurations that we have. Okay, after that, what we are going to do is to go to the next component that we have, which is the directory component, and we are going to add some directories to Needle and see how it actually works. So we have these commands: add, remove, list, modify, and describe and config in the directory components. We are going to go over them very fast. So the needle.ctl directory, okay, so add command. This will actually add a directory to your Needle will monitor that directory. If you change any files, it will update the embeddings and all of those stuff. So you can just add a directory here and see, you can search on that. So we have this one. The remove will do the reverse. You'll just removing that. Needle will not watch over that directory. We have the list command, which will show you the list of directories that you have currently. We have the modify command, which will help you to just enable or disable the directories that you are going to do the searches on. So maybe you are looking in, you have lots of directories and you want to just focus on some of them for your search. So you can just enable and disable them using modify command. We have the describe command, which actually shows you the details of the directory. And we have the config command, which actually help you to do some configuration on the default values of Needle for directory components. Take note that we have config command for all components. So you have it for service, directory, query, and generator. And it's, you should be aware of what you're doing with those values because they're, predefined to be the optimal for most of systems and most of environments that you have, but you can change them. So take note that changing them might actually affect the Needle's performance. So first, take a look at the config of the directory. So you can see, for example, it's the number of watchers that Needle use, the number of embedding workers, the batch size, and should it do the recursive indexing or not. With hitting space, you can toggle these values or delete these values. And also by saving it, it will just save and restart the Needle backend for you if it's required. So I'm not going to save that, so I'm just hit escape without saving. And okay, I'm going to add the directory here. And I have these samples from different datasets that I'm going to add these one by one. So I have the animals, cuckoo, and also visual genome. You cannot see that because it's another directory, but we are going to add that as well. So I'm going to just go with animals right now. And we have 1,000 images in this directory. And what option that add command actually supports is show progress. That actually shows you the progress bar of indexing these images. So what this command actually does is that, okay, add this dataset, and then after successful adding, because you're starting the indexing progress, show me the progress as well. So I'm hitting enter here, and as you can see, we have added the animals directory successfully. This is the directory ID that we can use for seeing the details, and this is the indexing progress bar. As you recall, we had something called batch size in the needle.ctl, and that one is the batch that is used for images. So we have 50 images at once. We are doing everything in parallel for the optimization and for the performance. And these will these progress bar will be updated based on batches. So as you can see, for example, we had the 100 images right now. After 30 seconds, it's pretty fast, and it will take around 5 minutes for it to index with using one Tesla T4 GPU. Also, one good thing to mention here is that Needle actually supports multiple GPUs, and if you have multiple GPUs available, it will try to adjust the distribution of tasks, the embeddings across all of them, so you have higher performance as well. Okay, I'm going to add all of the others directories that I have here, and then we'll be back with the rest of this configuration and installation process. All right, now the second directory has been indexed as well, and I'm going to just add the third directory without the show progress option. So when we do that, it will just give us that, okay, yeah, I've successfully added this directory, and I'm going to index it in background. So what we are going to do while Needle is indexing the directory, we are going to just look at some other directory commands. So when I go with the list command here, we can see that we have 3 directories here. This is the human readable output format. You can see that for the first two, they're enabled and they're indexed as well, but for the third one is not indexed yet. And what we can do here is that we can go with the directory describe and then just specify the ID. So we have 1, 2, 3 right now. It will just increment after adding each directory. And when we go with that, we have the images, we have the indexing ratio, and so I'm going to just get the head for this one. And as you can see, we have some other details here as well, the path and all this stuff. The other option that directory command has is the modify. So if we go with the modify, we'll see something very interesting here. So we have our list of directories. So these are the 3 passes, they're indexed or not, and are they enabled or not. And if we hit a space for each of them, we can just toggle the enable. And if we disable one directory, then it will not search through that. So for example, if you're doing some benchmarks, you can just add all of the benchmarks that you have here in the needle, and then just enable and disable some directories for your specific task. So if you're doing, for example, the animal classification task, then you can just hit, leave the animals enabled and the other disabled. So this is a great option for customizing what you need. So I'm going to just let them be enabled, and just hitting S, it will just say that we have saved your configuration and all done. All right, we have talked about the service component, we have talked about directory components. Now it's time to talk about query and generator. So while it is indexing, the other part, what we can do is to just configure the generators that we have and then do some queries. So first of all, while you have some task indexing, what you can do is you can actually run queries, but it will not run that on the unfinished task. So for example, if I run, for example, a query of a wolf here, it will not have the third directory involved. But since we haven't configured our generators yet, it will not perform any queries. So what we have to do is to just go to the generators component and just say we are going to configure it. So by default, we are supporting 3 different options here. So we have the DALI option, we have the replicate option, and we have support for localhost as well. So I'm going to start with DALI. As you know, DALI is very popular image generation service that you can just activate using your OpenAI API key. So if you just hit A on this, option, you can see that it prompts you for your OpenAI API key, and you can paste it and just hit save, and it will activate this engine for you. Also, we have the Replicate. Replicate is a website that supports lots of different models. You can just put your model out there, and also it requires you an API token. If you provide these 2 as well, you can just use any model on Replicate and get the images. It can work as your generator for you. And also we are supporting the local option, which is you can just have your own host address and also the port and the endpoint, so you can just define whatever model that you want, and just you have to follow some formats that are available in our documentation. So for example, the input format should be like this. It should get a JSON with these fields, and then the output should be, for example, a JSON with some other fields. And then if you follow that, you can just have any generator that you need. So I'm going to enable the replicate and DALI right now, and we're going to talk about the fallback mode and also the orderings. Okay, I'm going to just pause the video here and just activate these. All right, I've activated DALI and replicate, and like the enabling and disabling any directories, you can enable and disable any engine here as well. So if you disable them, it will not, the needle will not use them for image generation. So I'm going to just leave these 2 enabled. And other option that we support here is just reordering this. So if you hold shift and just move up and down with your arrows, then what it does, it actually the priority is from the first one to the last one. So when it actually helps is that, for example, we are having lots of generation models, and then all of them are need some monetary cost, so you have to pay for them and you have a limit for them. So if, for example, one of them hit the limit and then just give you an error, or for any reason it will just give you an error, what it does, if you support it, if you have the fallback mode on, then it will go to the next available options. And for example, if you have all 3 enabled and you're only using 2 of them, if one of them fails, it will just go to the third. So this is the configuration for generators. I'm going to just hit S here and just escape. So as you can see, we have applied a new configuration, and what we can do is we can run some queries right now. So So I'm going to start with very simple ones. So for example, I have a dog playing in a field with a boy. So this is my query. And there are lots of options here. We're going to discuss them later. And when I hit enter, it will actually connects to the replicate right now, or dolly, whichever we had first, I remember, and generate the images for us. Okay, now we have the results for these prompts, and as you can see, we have from different directories. We have Coco, we have animals, we have the visual genome, and also we have a preview URL. And you can see that we are disabling the base images right now. So the base images are the guide images that we have used for this query. So you can enable that in configuration and see those as well in your preview URL. So take note that these directories, they do not have the image that I described because the animals are the only animals. So for example, maybe Coco or visual genome has some boy in them that is playing actually. But the needle will capture as much as details that it can from all images. So let's check out the gallery. As you can see, the dogs in these images are playing. So we have, for example, one here that there is this girl here, or we have a person here. So you can see that it will capture, the sense of playing, and it tries to have everything that you need. All right, now let's take a look at another query. So I can just go for, I don't know, a person working with his MacBook in a lab. Okay, for this query, what we're looking for is not to the animals directory, but from visual genome and Coco, and we can see how it actually works. All right, as you can see, the results are pretty great. So, for example, we have lots of people are working with their laptops, and if you just go to the details of this image, you can see it resembles all of the details that you need. And take note that we are working with the fast mode on Needle, so the accuracy might be lower, and number of images and the quality of images that we are producing right now is very low. So if you increase these values, then you'll have much more accuracy. All right, now that we're done with some queries, we can just check out the query configuration as well to see what configuration it will actually provide us. So you can change the number of images to generate. So you can pass these as arguments for one query, or you can change the default value here. So for example, we're only generating 2 images right now. We have 20 images to retrieve by default. The image size that we are looking is small right now, so it's 512, and we're only using one engine, and we are using fallback. If one of them fail, we'll go to the next one, and we are not including the base images in preview. You can change all of these and hit save, and just rerun your queries. And all right, we have checked the service component, directory component, generator component, and query component. Okay, thank you for bearing with me during the installation, configuration, and also installation of Needle. If you had any issues with the Needle, you can just create an issue here. Please let us know. And also, if you had any improvement and you can help us developing Needle, we'll accept your generous contribution as well. Just create a pull request and specify your pull request. You can see the Needle's code as well here. Please give us a star on GitHub. And okay, thank you.